Hey YouTube, it's your host Son Raiko here, and I bet you guys did not expect me to come back this soon, huh? Well, today we got you Red versus Elden Ring, and in this case it's gonna be Red from Pokemon Master since that's the most recent iteration of the character. Alright, so just so everyone's on the same page, Red will be using his team from Heart Gold and Soul Silver since those events take place before Pokemon Masters. That means that Red will be using his team of Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, Pikachu, Snorlax, and Lapras. Additionally, Red will also have access to all in-game healing items just to make things a lot easier and simpler for him since there's not going to be any Pokemon centers to heal from in the lands between, so yeah. Since Red has showcased that he and his Charizard can go further beyond and use Mega Evolution, we'll give him access to Charizard IX as well as the Mega Ring, but we will not give his Snorlax Dynamaxing because there's no Dynamax energy in the lands between for Snorlax to Dynamax, so that'll be off the table. But we'll see if he really needs it or not. Red's first challenge will be the weakest of the demigods, Godric the Grafted. So Godric doesn't really have anything good in lore to suggest that he scales high like the other demigods, so for the sake of him not being a total bum since there's not much we can go off of for him, we'll say he scales to the Fallingstar Beast, who created an impact crater that scales to around large town level if we believe that it vaporized the ground that it created the impact on. As for speed, Miranda's prayer will be used in order to get Godric to faster than light speeds for, again, the sake of not being a total bum and get him to at least a decent speed tier for the start of this challenge. While the description for Miranda's prayer is cut content, it does not clash with any lore or current events that happen in Elden Ring, and it's just used to find the intent behind the move and to see what it actually is rather than to use it for some crazy chain scaling or something, so I think it's perfectly valid to use here. Alright, so now that we have Godric's stats out the way, how does Red compare to him? Well, first we can start off by scaling the Lake Valor explosion that Team Galactic caused in Generation 4, affecting all the Magikarp within the area. They basically tanked around a mountain level explosion, which would then scale to Red since Red beat Blue Squirtle at the start of the game, which should scale above Magikarp pretty handily as Magikarp is often considered the weakest Pokemon in the verse. Moving on to speed for Red's Charmander, we'll have him landing around light speed since he scales to Diglett, who can duck at those speeds. Here's the speed of light scan from the NASA website to confirm that Diglett is at the very least the speed of light, but it is a little bit faster considering the number that Gary told us in the anime. All Pokemon in verse also are able to react to Dazzling Gleam, which is literally a flash of light in the description of the game. With both characters' stats laid out, we can clearly see that Red outmuscles Godric by quite a bit at the very start of his journey, let alone current day Red, who has a Charizard. So the difference between Red and Godric at the start is Red, straight out the lab, should have a Charmander that's around 15,321 times stronger than Godric while being generous to him. Both Red's Charmander and Godric should also have around relative speeds, and obviously his Charmander is a lot slower and weaker than his Charizard, so realistically speaking, Charizard will Speed Blitz and one-shot Godric, and then Red will move on to his next challenge. After defeating Godric, Red will then have to fight against Renala, Raylana, Moog, and Morgott. These characters are grouped together because they all scale relative to one another but also scale below Star Scourge Radon. Ronnie and Renala's second phase ended up conjuring a Pocket Universe as well as a phantom version of her mother in her prime. Renala and those relative to her should scale because Renala is the one who trained Ronnie when she was young. Now, Ronnie's speed should still be used to help calculate speed. Since she created a pocket universe within finite time, we can say that she's at least infinite speed. The sisters Rilana and Raylana don't really have much going on here besides being just powerful magic users. They are very straightforward fighters besides that, so they don't bring too much to the table. Moog does bring Blood Flame, which is going to be very helpful against Red, so we'll see how that ends up working out. As for his brother Morgott, the Omen King, he uses holy energy based attacks, so we'll end up breaking down how that fares against Red. For a higher meta for Red and his team, we do have him in blue fighting against Giovanni's Mewtwo from the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon games. In Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, Giovanni is the leader of Rainbow Rocket, which consists of all the previous antagonists from universes where they each succeeded in the planet and took over the world. Team Galactic Cyrus is a part of this team, with Palkia and Dialga's avatars who all follow Giovanni's commands and leadership. This means that Giovanni has to be the strongest, and Cyrus would have no reason to follow Giovanni's orders if Palkia and Dialga were stronger than his Mewtwo. Cyrus also used Palkia and Dialga to erase the concept of spirit from the universe and his reality. Palkia and Dialga are conceptual beings themselves, as stated in the Heart Gold Soul Silver Arceus event. In the Mystery Dungeon games, Palkia also states that it has existence erasure as well. These gods are the ones responsible for creating the infinite multiverse in Pokemon as well as maintaining it. We know this because of the original story and Canterlay Library, the Reflection Cave in the OXY anime and games, as well as the Sun and Moon anime explaining the infinite multiverse to Ash. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth explanation on the Pokemon cosmology, I recommend checking out my Bill Cipher vs Giratina video as I expand upon it in there more. Anyway, these points are important because Giovanni's Mewtwo scales above these gods who are time and space itself. His attacks and resistances would have to operate on a conceptual level to be able to contest, let alone harm and tank their abilities and attacks. This would grant Red and his team multiversal plus levels of power for being able to fight and defeat Giovanni's Mewtwo. For speed, his team should have immeasurable speed since Dialga and Palkia created the infinite multiverse and can fight Giratina, whose realm exists beyond the concepts of time and space. The likes of Renala, Rilana, Moog, and Morga are not enough to challenge Red at all with these stats in mind. He literally has an infinite amount of power and speed over these 4 characters. Even Starscourge Radon would be bested by the world's strongest Pokemon trainer. The next challenge for Red and his team will be the top tiers in Elden Ring. These characters include Dragonlord Placidusix, Godfrey, Mesmer, Midra, the Elden Beast, Malenia, and Malekith the Black Blade. These characters are on the level of an Elden Lord who have the power to revert the cosmology back into the One Great. This is all aspects of the Elden Ring verse into one single existence where there are no divisions or dualities that the Greater Will created. This means the Chasm of Time, the timeline the chasm separates, the Round Table Hold, the Spirit World, the alternate dimensions, the realm beyond the universe where the Greater Will operates, are all that would be affected by lords who can revert the cosmology back into the One Great. To add on to this, Malenia's mentor, the Blind Swordsman, was able to fight and defeat the Outer God of Rot, then sealed him into a dagger. This is very impressive because the Outer Gods predate and supply concepts to the dimensions and alternate worlds of Elden Ring, with Malenia being considered unrivaled by the time of her training being completed. This just adds consistency that characters around this level should be in those multiversal ranges with immeasurable speed for being able to contend with beings who predate time and space. The biggest challenges for Red and his team to face here are Malekith the Black Blade and Malenia, but for the sake of fun we'll cover Mesmer and Placidusix. Red and Charizard shouldn't have too much trouble against Placidusix given the infinite power difference and relative speeds here. At best, Placidusix survives one type before being slain by Pokemon's fiery duo. Mesmer would fare just like Placidusix in that his speed is relative but his attacks won't do enough damage to hurt Red's Pokemon. Given that Red's Pokemon should have defenses against conceptual and astral targeting attacks, he shouldn't find too much trouble here. Scarlet Rot and Descent Death are very powerful conceptual abilities that are often infused with these powerful characters' attacks. While they will prove a bit problematic for Red and his team, he should be able to resist them enough for the win. This is because they should have resistance to existence and conceptual erasure via upskilling Palkia Dialga's avatars as well as Giovanni's Mewtwo. As for safe ways of dealing with the Scarlet Rot, Red's Charizard can do what Ash's Charizard did in the anime against Gary's Blastoise, and the idea of burning the battlefield in order to burn away the Scarlet Rot to make it a non-factor in this fight. Worst case scenario, Red has to make some boluses or find the incantation flame Cleanse Me. Considering Charizard's fire should be able to hurt conceptual beings and has magical properties, it should stand to reason it should work against the Scarlet Rot in a similar way the incantation would work. Red should be able to clear these Elden Lord level characters with mid difficulty and move on to his final test in Elden Ring. Consort Radahn being the hardest boss in Elden Ring as well as being the most powerful of the demigods, he wields strength surpassing that of Malenia as shown when he still beat her even after being hit with Scarlet Ionia. This version of Radahn is not the same one who fought Malenia as he is slightly smaller, but he should still be relative to his prime strength as he is considered resurrected or revived from his prime. Radahn is then boosted by the energy of Miquella's Light, who is considered to be the most fearsome of Empyreans and should be on a Lord level. Miquella has the ability to induce the Charm or Sleep status on beings as powerful as Mohg and the Tarnished. Radahn in this state will have AoE attacks every time he swings as well as multi-solar system ranging magic, with power ranging from multiversal to multiversal plus and immeasurable speed. This will absolutely be Red's most difficult challenge in Elden Ring. To understand what it means to go beyond the limit for Red and Charizard, we first must discuss Ultra Necrozma. This being of light is powerful enough to give light and energy to all of Ultra Space. This is impressive because Ultra Space is home to countless warp portals that lead to infinite worlds. Ultra Necrozma also has multiple statements placing it above Palkia and Dialga's avatars. Ultra Necrozma matters here because Z power for Z moves are from Necrozma. Even if Z moves are 1% from Necrozma's Ultra form, it would mean that they possess infinite energy from a multiversal plus beam. In Pokemon Masters and in the anime, we see that Mega Evolution on average are relative to Z moves. This would imply that Mega Evolution is giving an infinite boost to be able to contend with the power of Ultra Necrozma. Radahn with the boost from Miquella in terms of stats should be able to match base Charizard somewhat, however he does fall short to the power of Mega Charizard X. The reason is because Radahn at his best is potentially multiversal plus while Charizard in base is already on that level. The gap just becomes worse with Mega Evolution granting another infinite boost on top of Charizard's base. Miquella's Charm and Sleep Inducement is powerful and useful against many foes but likely wouldn't be a factor here. The reason is because Red and his Pokemon team are already well above those who are the concept of knowledge, emotion, and willpower itself. Worst case scenario, Red will have to pop a full heal or a Chesto Berry to recover from such effects. Now, Radahn is not going down in one hit or anything like that. He is definitely giving Red and Charizard their greatest challenge here. Radahn's chaotic fighting style also isn't anything new to Pokemon trainers around Red's level. He should take this fight with high difficulty in base form and low difficulty with Mega Evolution. In the end of the day, if the question is, could Red and his team defeat Elden Ring? Then the answer is yes.